Regina insulted him, slapped him, and spit on the ground beside him. Everyone laughed with her, but when she collapsed days later and woke up in a hospital bed, she realized the man she crushed was the only one who could save her. The afternoon sun burned hot over the busy streets of Victoria Island, Lagos. Cars honked, traders shouted, and people rushed past each other like ants. But at the entrance of Golden Plaza, the most expensive shopping mall in the area, a different kind of noise was about to begin. Regina Okonkwo stepped out of her white Range Rover, her high heels clicking against the pavement like a queen's arrival. Her gold rings sparkled under the sun, thick necklaces, heavy bracelets and rings on almost every finger. Her perfume was so strong that people could smell her before they saw her. She carried 5 shopping bags in one hand and a designer handbag in the other. "Move! Move out of my way!" she shouted at a young hawker selling water. The boy quickly jumped aside, almost falling over his bucket of drinks. Regina smelled wickedly. She loved the power. She loved the fear in people's eyes when they saw her wealth. But then, she saw him. At the corner of the mall entrance sat an old beggar. His name was Clement. His clothes were torn and faded, his skin dark and wrinkled from years under the sun. His eyes looked tired, but there was something gentle about him, something peaceful. He stretched out his trembling hand toward Regina as she walked past. "Madam, please, just small something. I never chopped since morning." Regina stopped. She turned slowly and looked down at him like he was dirt beneath her shoe. "You want money?" she asked, her voice dripping with disgust. Clement nodded weakly. "Yes, madam. God will bless you." Regina laughed. It was a cold, mocking laugh that made people nearby turn to look. "God will bless me? And who are you to talk about God? Look at yourself. You are useless, a waste of space. If God loved you, would you be here begging like a dog?" The words cut through the air like a knife. People stopped walking. Shoppers paused at the entrance. A small crowd began to form. Clement lowered his head. "I'm sorry, madam. I didn't mean to." "Shut up!" Regina screamed. "You beggars are everywhere, spoiling the image of this fine area. You should be ashamed of yourself." She raised her hand high in the air, and then she slapped him. "Pah!" The sound echoed across the plaza. Gasps filled the air. A woman covered her mouth in shock. A man shook his head in disbelief. Clement's face turned to the side from the force. A red mark appeared on his cheek, but he didn't fight back. He didn't shout. He just looked up at Regina with eyes full of something she didn't understand. Sadness, pity, not for himself, but for her. "Madam," Clement said quietly, his voice shaking, "I will pray for you." Regina spat on the ground near him. "Keep your useless prayers. I don't need anything from a dirty beggar like you." She turned and walked into the mall, her head held high, her heels clicking with pride. But as she disappeared through the glass doors, she didn't see the way Clement closed his eyes and whispered something under his breath. Something that sounded like a warning. Inside the mall, Regina felt powerful. She moved from shop to shop, buying things she didn't need. A new handbag, another pair of shoes, expensive perfume. The salesgirl smiled at her, but their smiles were fake. Everyone knew Regina. Everyone feared her sharp tongue and cruel words. "Madam Regina, this one will look beautiful on you," said one salesgirl, holding up a silk scarf. She snatched it from her hand without even looking. "Wrap it up and be fast about it." The girl hurried to obey. At the payment counter, Regina's phone rang. It was her husband, Lawrence. "Regina, where are you?" Regina laughed. "Where do you think I am? Shopping. I'm spending your money, as usual." Lawrence sighed on the other end. "Regina, we need to slow down. Business is not moving well right now. We need to be careful." "Careful?" Regina rose her voice. "Lawrence, we are rich. We have 3 houses, 2 factories, cars. What do you mean careful? Stop being afraid like a poor man." "Regina, please." She cut the call. She hated when Lawrence talked like that. He was becoming soft, weak. She didn't marry him to hear about problems. She married him for the money, for the lifestyle, for the respect that came with being Mrs. Regina Okonkwo. As she walked out of the mall 2 hours later, her arms full of new shopping bags, she had forgotten about the beggar, but he had not forgotten about her. Clement was no longer sitting at his usual spot. He had moved to the shade of a nearby tree, watching the entrance of the mall. His eyes followed Regina as she loaded her bags into her car. Then he did something strange. He pulled out a small old phone from his pocket, a phone that looked too clean, too expensive for a beggar to own. He pressed a number and waited. A voice answered on the other end. "Yes, Papa." Clement's voice changed. It became stronger, clearer. "Bola, my son, I have seen enough. It is time."
3 days passed. Regina's life continued as usual. Shopping, parties, bragging to her friends about her latest purchases. But strange things began to happen. On Monday morning, Lawrence came home looking pale. "Regina, we have a problem." She was sitting in front of her mirror, applying makeup. She didn't even turn around. "What now?" The bank called. They said our account has been frozen. Regina's hands stopped mid-air. "What?" "I don't understand it either," Lawrence said, his voice shaking. "They said there's an investigation, something about unpaid taxes from 5 years ago. But I paid everything. I have the receipts." Regina stood up, her face twisted with anger. "Then go back to the bank and fix it. Do I have to do everything myself?" Lawrence left without another word. But things got worse. On Tuesday, one of their factories caught fire. The damage was so bad that production had to stop completely. 50 workers lost their jobs. On Wednesday, Regina's best friend, Sonia, called her. "Regina, I'm sorry, but I can't come to your party this weekend." "Why not?" Regina demanded. Sonia hesitated. They are talking." "Talking about what?" "About what you did to that beggar." Someone recorded it on their phone. The video is everywhere now. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. People are calling you wicked. They are saying you are cursed. Regina's blood ran cold. "That's nonsense," she shouted. "It's just a stupid video. People will forget about it." But Sonia's voice was quiet. "Regina, I don't think they will. The video has over 2 million views. Even the blogs are writing about you." Regina ended the call and immediately searched online. There it was. The video of her slapping Clement, her cruel words, her mocking laughter. The comments were brutal. "This woman is heartless. She will pay for this wickedness. God is watching." Regina's hands shook as she read. Her perfect life was crumbling. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Clement's face, his sad eyes, his quiet voice. "I will pray for you." What did he mean by that? If you are feeling the tension right now, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this story is about to take a turn that will leave you speechless. Hit that subscribe button now. Friday morning came with dark clouds. Regina woke up feeling strange. Her head was heavy. Her chest felt tight. She tried to stand up from the bed, but her legs were weak. "Lawrence!" she called out. But Lawrence had already left for the bank, still trying to fix their frozen account. Regina managed to walk to the bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror and gasped. Her face looked different, older, tired. The glow she always had was gone. Dark circles surrounded her eyes. Her skin looked dry and pale. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. Her phone rang. It was her sister Rita. "Regina, Mama wants to see you. She said it's urgent." "I can't come today. I'm not feeling well." Rita's voice became sharp. "Regina, Mama said you must come. She had a dream about you last night. She's worried." "Mama, it's just a dream." "Let me finish." Mama Sheila's voice was firm. "I saw you in my dream. You were drowning in a river and a man was trying to save you, but you kept pushing him away." "Mama, it's just a dream." What does that mean?" Mama Sheila shook her head. "I don't know, but you need to be careful, my daughter. Pride comes before a fall. I've been hearing stories about you, the way you treat people, the way you... Suddenly, Regina's vision blurred. The room started spinning. "Mama, I can't." She tried to stand up, but her legs gave way and she collapsed on the floor with a loud thud.
Regina! Regina opened her eyes. She was lying on a hospital bed. White walls, beeping machines. The smell of antiseptic filled her nose. She's awake, someone said. Lawrence rushed to her side, his face full of worry. Regina, thank God, you've been unconscious for 2 days. 2 days? Regina tried to speak, but her throat was dry. A nurse brought her water. What happened? She whispered. The doctor, a middle-aged man named Dr. Festus, stepped forward. Mrs. Okonkwo, you had a severe panic attack that led to temporary cardiac arrest. Your body shut down from extreme stress. Stress? Regina repeated weakly. Yes, your blood pressure was dangerously high. You need to rest, and you need to address whatever is causing you this much anxiety. But Regina wasn't listening. Her mind was somewhere else. Because while she was unconscious, she had seen something, a vision, a dream. She didn't know what to call it. In the vision, she was standing in a courtroom. But it wasn't a normal courtroom. Everything was white. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. And sitting on the judge's seat was Clement. But he didn't look like a beggar anymore. He was wearing clean white robes. His face was glowing. His eyes were filled with authority. Regina Okonkwo, you have been weighed and found wanting, he had said in the vision, his voice echoing. Regina had tried to speak, to defend herself, but no words came out. And then Clement had said something that made her blood freeze. You think I am just a beggar, but you don't know who I really am. Now, lying in the hospital bed, Regina couldn't shake those words from her mind. You don't know who I really am. Lawrence squeezed her hand. Regina, there's something else you need to know. She looked at him with tired eyes. While you were unconscious, I got a call from a lawyer, a very powerful lawyer. Regina's heart started beating faster. He said we're being sued by someone we wronged. And if we lose the case, we'll lose everything. The houses, the factories, everything. Regina's lips trembled. Sued? By who? Lawrence's face was pale. I don't know. The lawyer wouldn't say. But Regina, he mentioned something about public humiliation and assault. And he said the case is backed by one of the richest families in Nigeria. Regina felt like the walls were closing in on her. 1 week later, Regina was strong enough to leave the hospital, but her world was no longer the same. The lawsuit was real, the frozen accounts were real, the destroyed factory was real, and worst of all, the shame was real. Everywhere she went, people whispered, pointed, some even spat on the ground when they saw her. That's the woman from the video, the one who slapped the poor man, wicked woman. Regina stopped going out. She stayed locked inside her house, crying every day. Lawrence tried to comfort her, but even he was tired. He had lost almost everything trying to fight the lawsuit. But the lawyer on the other side was too powerful. Then, one evening, there was a knock on the door. Lawrence opened it. Standing there was a tall, handsome young man in an expensive suit. Behind him were 2 bodyguards and a driver. Good evening, the man said politely. My name is Bola. I'm here to speak with Mrs. Regina Okonkwo. Who are you? Lawrence frowned. Bola smiled gently. I'm the son of the man your wife slapped. Regina, who had been listening from the parlor, felt her legs weaken again. She forced herself to walk to the door. When she saw Bola, she couldn't speak. He looked nothing like a beggar's son. He looked like wealth, like power. May I come in? Bola asked. They sat in the parlor. Regina's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Bola spoke calmly. My father's name is Clement Adeyemi. You know him as the beggar you slapped at Golden Plaza. Regina's voice was barely a whisper. Why was he begging if he's rich? Bola finished her sentence. My father is one of the wealthiest men in this country. He owns hotels, oil wells, and businesses across Africa. But 10 years ago, after my mother died, he made a promise to God. He said he would spend every Friday sitting as a beggar to remind himself where he came from, to stay humble, to remember that wealth is nothing without character. Tears started rolling down Regina's face. Bola continued. That day, you didn't just slap a beggar. You slapped a man who has fed thousands of families, a man who has built schools and hospitals, a man who has helped more people than you can imagine. Lawrence buried his face in his hands. And after you slapped him, Bola said, his voice becoming firmer, I called my son and I said, my son, it is time to teach this woman a lesson, not to destroy her, but to humble her. Regina sobbed, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Bola stood up. My father is not a wicked man. He doesn't want to destroy you completely, but he wants you to feel what it's like to lose everything, to be humiliated, to be treated like you are nothing. He walked towards the door, then turned back. The lawsuit will be dropped. Your accounts will be unfrozen, but you will never get back the respect you lost. That, Mrs. Okonkwo, you destroyed yourself. He left. Regina collapsed on the floor, crying like a child.
Months passed. Regina and Lawrence managed to rebuild some of their life, but it was never the same. The factories reopened, but on a smaller scale. The houses were sold to pay debts. Regina's friends never came back, but something inside Regina changed. She started going to the same streets where she had slapped Clement, but this time, she didn't go to shop. She went to feed the beggars. Every Friday, she brought food, water, and money. People were shocked. Is this the same Regina? The one from the video? She has changed, though. One Friday, as Regina was handing out food, she saw him, Clement. He was sitting in his usual spot, dressed in his beggar clothes. Their eyes met. Regina walked over slowly and knelt down in front of him. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I was wicked, I was proud, I was blind. Clement looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. God has forgiven you, my daughter. Now forgive yourself. He placed his hand on her head and prayed for her. From that day forward, Regina became a different woman. She learned that true wealth is not in what you own, but in how you treat others. And she never forgot the words Clement told her that day in the hospital vision. You don't know who I really am. Because in life, you never truly know who you are talking to. The person you look down on today might be the one holding your destiny tomorrow. Pride and cruelty will always lead to a fall. Treat every human being with respect and kindness, no matter their status. You never know who is watching, who is testing you, or who holds the power to lift you up or bring you down. Humble yourself, or life will humble you. Remember, a kind word costs nothing, but its value is priceless. Wickedness may win for a season, but karma never forgets an address. If this story touched your heart, don't just watch and leave. Like this video, share it with your friends and family, and drop a comment below telling us what you learned from Regina's story. Have you ever witnessed someone being cruel to a beggar or a poor person? What did you do? Let's talk in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our powerful African folktales. We post stories that teach, inspire, and transform lives. See you in the next story.